Howdy folks, welcome to the brewery and tasting day on the Xmas Pale Ale. It's, I know, it's a little over a month since Christmas. Took me a while to get around to this one, but I'll have them away for a couple of weeks, so it's given it a good time to settle in the keg and yeah, settle into itself. But anyway, that's her. She's fairly bright and clear. These aren't the best glasses for showing that, but even with that glass, that's it's pretty clear. Probably should have used a straight walled glass, but hey, you get that. But anyway, so this was the brew. I brewed up knowing the family was coming for Christmas. This is a slightly revised version on what I'd normally do. I normally change it like ever so slightly from batch to batch. This is probably had the biggest change of any version of it. I've done it before. I've really brought it into being a more modern interpretation of the style. If you go back to Brew Day up the top, no, actually it's down the bottom, and down below the comments, if you go to the link down there, you can go to Brew Day. I'll sort of go into more chat about that. But if I think about it, I'll put a link to one of the old versions of the Xmas Pale. I think there's a video on one version of it back a while, and you can see the difference. But basically, I took what was an old school pale ale with all boil and a late. The last edition was a flame out edition, and dragged the hops back more and put shorter boil and whirlpool. Yeah, late boil hops and whirlpool. There's still no dry hopping, so it's still all technically, well, they're all pre-ferment hops, but I'll pull them back. So just a quick run over the bloody hops. It's prior to Ringwood for bittering, and Galaxy and Citra. I said a 10-minute edition of Galaxy, 5 minutes of Citra, and then a 85-degree 20-minute hop stand of equal parts of Citra and Galaxy at half a gram a litre each. So it's only light. Because this is a beer I brew for the family. This isn't particularly... I like it. It's a beer I like. But it's not a beer I particularly brew for me. So I've got to say the changes have brought a bit more in line with sort of more current taste preferences. But it's a beer that's aimed for the family to enjoy. It's a beer that's got some flavour. It's not just your average everyday, pub lager. But it's still not intimidating. It's still fairly comfortable. It's always been sort of not so much based on, but it's been a loose interpretation of the Cooper's Pale Ale style. Never intending to copy a Cooper's Pale, but that same sort of like light body, light drinking, lightly hopped, a little bit of sweet malt, simple summer beer. Half the grain bill is just a simple pale ale, with a quarter of the bill being Pilsner malt, and the balance, again, just under a quarter, is wheat. And I said, and the types of those vary. This version was Voyager Compass for the pale, and they're under modified Pilsner and rolled wheat. This recipe will work with any variation of those kind of malts, but roughly in those same numbers. I said I've brewed it previously with Golden Promise base. I've brewed it with Marisota. I've brewed it with Vehement, as to what I've brewed it with. With Joe White. I've done it with completely Australian malts, with Joe White, right, I think, and Barrett Burston, right through. I prefer to use a flaked wheat as opposed to the rolled wheat, or even just a straight up wheat malt. The rolled wheat has worked alright, but the flaked wheat tends to hold just a little bit more haze, but for the most part this is a clear, bright beer. Runs in at 32 IBU, and again the bittering, it's only 12 IBU, so it's not a big bitter charge, it's relying on the hop flavour to bring it in. So I've really gone very limited on my notes on this. And when I say limited, I mean limited. As you know, leading into Christmas and over Christmas was pretty chaotic around here. So just to give you an idea of how limited my notes were, and that's not just in, the old logbook's been getting a little bit less brew to brew as it is, but there's really, I haven't even logged any ferment readings, any gravity readings along the way. I've not even logged an actual, a pitching gravity, which I normally do. But that is the extent of the log for this brew. The batch number, the name and the date, that's as far as it got. So yeah, but we can run with what we got. I've got a little bit of info. I said not a real lot. Starting gravity was 1044. Final gravity was targeted being 111, which was going to give me 4.3%. I've got 4.7 written up on the board. So I'm assuming at some point I've had numbers. I've probably taken photos of progress. I've probably taken readings, and I've probably posted it on the Facebook page. At the time, had the numbers so I could work it out, but I obviously have not written it down. I would have taken a reading when I actually there'll be got the Brewday video here, so we can quickly find a gravity reading. Okay, right. So it was 1044, measured at 28 degrees, so I was putting would have been 1045, and I think it finished at 1010 on the gravity. So I'm gonna update that while I'm right here, because that is what's going to get me probably 4.7. But anyway, in that range, mid 1040s, finished around 1010. And it's drinking nice. It's just really, it's really simple and easy. It's very light bodied, and even at 1010, that's not a particularly, low final gravity. But when that big whack of almost 50% of the bill being the wheat and that pilsner, it keeps it nice and light. It's almost a lagerish body, with that little bit with that ale presence coming through. What yeast did we use? I'm pretty sure we used the BRY 97. No, US05 gram a litre. Yeah, straight US05. It's attenuated well. Got probably 76 76, 77% attenuation, so yeah, right on where you'd want. Some nice, the hops are just working really well together. People like to bag out Pride or Ringwood, but yeah, when I said it, you've got to use it right. Like in this, I said 12 IBU, 40 minute boil, just laying down a nice, clean, bittering edge. There's still that little bit of earthy sitting under it. And the nice combo of the Citra and the Galaxy is just working really nice. There's some little bit of sour lemon coming from the Citra. Just a gentle, tropically, that little bit of passion fruit and those light tropical notes that come along with the Galaxy. Not enough of anything to get, not enough of the Galaxy to get, too wicked. There's no grassiness. But those hop levels, they're light enough that nothing, you're not drinking a fruit bomb, you're not drinking it and going, that's fruit. There's just enough, it's just a combined character that sits there and goes, gives us some interest. And like I said, this is the whole point of the beer. But someone who's not that's not a craft beer drinker, who's used to drinking normal pub beer, there's enough there for them to go, okay, there's something a little bit more there than your normal beer. Something, like I said, creating that interest, but it's not enough for them to freak them out and go, that's crazy. But, your average Megaswill drinker's probably going to have trouble even finding a pronounced particular flavour in there. And what I quite often find with most people is they go, oh, that's got a hoppy note. That's best they can sort of do. That's got, which is quite often the comment will be, oh, it's got a stronger flavour. Doesn't usually get described as a bad flavour, or people don't pick it up as being particularly fruity. So from that angle it works, which is really good. So yeah, she's a success. Which I had no doubt it was going to be. It was just a case of how that final adjustment was going to go. But that's good. So yeah, beautiful. So guys, like I said, will I change this recipe before it goes into the book next year, at the end of the year? I don't know. I'm pretty happy to. I'm actually pretty happy to go with that. The reality is, I think that both variations of the hopping technique both work really well, and I might even put them both in the book. I might just put it as a little extra, depending whether if you want to go a bit more old school with it or a little bit more a bit more modern, because both beers really work really well. But that's certainly right now. That is a really nice, easy drinking beer you can have on tap anytime. When you got people around. I'm not the grain combination itself in this one, I think could be improved. I think there's just a little bit of an edge coming from the malt, and I think it's probably from the under-modified Pilsner. So I think from this case, like if you're going the Voyager, I'd be more inclined to go for what's under the compass? I'll probably be more inclined to go Compass and Schooner than an actual Pilsner or lager malt with the Voyager, or just simply changing out that Pilsner malt to more of a lager malt from somewhere else. A Gladfield's lager, Simpson's lager malt would go really well in there. Just a lager that's got just a little bit more depth, I think would go really well. And as I said, I think the rest will definitely get changed back to being flaked wheat, because that is where it needs. I think that's really where it needs to be. I said, the rolled wheat only happened because I didn't have the flaked wheat. That was a bit of a stuff up on, leading into the brew. But that's again, that's very minor, and I don't think it's had a massive play. But I do feel that the flaked wheat just gives just a tiny little bit more body, which, as it is, it's not making it a bad beer. But I think just for me, I said just to really nut it down to being that little bit better, I'd go there. I think the minerals in this work really well. It's only slightly sulfate over chloride, and you could probably run it either way. You could probably run up the sulfate a little bit, make it a little bit more edgy, without any problem, or you could simply go the other way and pull the chloride up a little bit higher, and make it a little bit softer. I think it will work. It would take either combination. So it's certainly a beer that, as a base, works really well. You can then just play around with how you want to set up the finishing flavour profile, even the hops. Changing the balance of the hops if you wanted to do so. Because as I said, that is the hops are very, very balanced in what each one's bringing at each different part of the brew. If you wanted to go Citra 3-1 to Galaxy, or Galaxy 3-1, it would certainly carry it without too much issue. Realistically, if you were to push the Galaxy to 3-1, you'd simply be stepping that into a Pacific Ale type of realm, and I think that would hold quite well. But again, if you're going there, I'd certainly be looking at upping the malts to an all base malt, and dropping the Pilsner malt just to get a little bit more depth of malt in there. The malt depth doesn't hold up to a Pacific. It's very definitely down there in that pale ale territory. But anyway, guys, everybody, thank you very much for supporting the channel. If you got any comments or any questions, stick them down the bottle. Big shout out to Little John's Patreons, as always. Thank you very much for your support. So there's the extra extended sort of video for the Patreons. Links down the bottom if you're interested in Patreon. Patreon lets me play around and experiment and do all the bits and pieces I do. So it's worth having a look at. If you're subscribed, thank you. If you're not, hitting the subscribe button, ring the bell down there, all that sort of stuff. And if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. But for now, that's me, Little John. We're rolling into 2024 properly. It's taken us a few weeks to find our feet, let's say, but we're going. So there'll be more videos, and until I see you on one of those videos, when we brew and beer, drinking beer or talking beer, good brewing.